Blessings. Blessings and welcome, everyone. Good morning. I'm so very grateful to be with you here today. I am Tuesday Mae Thomas, and this is 4D Trinity, where we bridge fourth dimensional consciousness through the unity of mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and emotions, too. And really, what we're doing is we are bridging fourth dimensional consciousness through the unity of mind, body, and emotions with spirit. Spirit, I believe, is always at one, is always at peace, is always in its perfect divine union and order. And as we calibrate and unify the mind with the body and the emotions, we will come into a greater expanse of 4D consciousness. Blessings. Good morning, Will. For some reason, I'm feeling that I need to read what you have written here. Good morning at the doc's office. Okay, well, sending you lots of love and light with regard to that. And I am guided this morning to burn us a little bit of sage here. You know, sage is such a beautiful, powerful medicine offered from Mother Earth that allows us to hit the reset button, that allows us to recharge, to purify, and to cleanse the space of our own bodies, of our own minds, of any space that we find ourselves in, physical, multidimensional, and otherwise. I'm going to actually just lift this up just a tad. Oh, blessings. Thank you so much. I'm so very grateful to be here with you. You know, this is what I love to do. And as a teacher and facilitator for most of my life, this gives me the opportunity to teach what I preach and to become more and more and more aligned, to find a voice for everything that I've learned in my life and a platform where I can share it. So I'm so very grateful. And thank you, all of the new subscribers. I'm so just touched, you know? And again, I mentioned it in this week's tarot reading that like the new subscribers are going through all of the older videos and leaving beautiful comments. And I'm so grateful for the conversation. I'm so very grateful. And I'm just going to read here. Beautiful bee. Well, hello, good morning, and welcome. If you are joining us, please do drop a little comment in the comment box. I would be so very grateful. So today, our topic is raising your vibration. And we've got a lot of little bits and pieces we're going to be putting together here today. And it's interesting. In looking in many different videos and sort of collecting information, which I'm sure you've done as well, as we explore this realm of being a spiritual person on this earth plane, it's so often I come into this same rhetoric, which is nothing is still. And a lot of the spiritual gurus or mentors would say that we think that nothing is moving around us. Yet, as we attune and we meditate and we become still ourselves, what we realize and recognize is that actually everything in the world is moving. There's a constant divine orchestration of beauty, of organizing, of atoms that make up this universe. And those atoms are contained within us. And one of the themes that I have bumped into over and over again is to think about looking at a table. And the table looks like it's just completely still, it's completely dense and solid. Yes, yet when it's looked at on a deeper level and with really sophisticated microscopes, what we see is that it's actually a culmination of many, many different atoms whizzing around. Whizzing and whizzing and whizzing. And all of these atomic structures are the same atoms that make you up, that make me up, that make up our physical bodies, and different levels of our consciousness as well. So there's a lot more going on than what meets the physical eye, right? And as we learn to attune and activate the third eye, we begin to see through the veils of what seems dense and solid, and we begin to gain an entryway into the structuring, of those atoms, the whizzing of the atomic structures. And I remember there was a point in my spiritual growth when I began not only seeing and sensing the movement, that very, very subtle movement of the atoms whizzing around within my body and all around, but I began to hear them as well. And it's interesting, if you know me, or if you've been following me, you know that a big part of my life is moving towards creating a book on the grid, which is a different way to talk about the matrix, right? This 3D of collective consciousness. And years ago, I created my first book, my first grid book, and it's not published, but soon, at some point, divine timing will take place and I will share it. And it was interesting because I was going through this, and there's this part in it that says, it's just that the mind gets quiet, which is the ego, gets quiet, and you can hear yourself being, you can hear your truth being, and you can hear the atomic structures whizzing. And it's so funny because I actually drew a little picture of those atomic structures whizzing here. And I'm wondering if you feel it, if you hear it, if you can sense your atomic structures whizzing when you get very, very still, when you become very, very quiet. You are made up of vibrating atoms, and the rate of their vibration is determined by your cycles per second. Your cycles per second is your vibration, so they are two in one the same. Yet, what we are coming to learn and to understand is that every interaction we have, every thought that we have, every word that we speak, every action we participate in and that we allow to be a part of our reality gives rise to that said reality that we experience in our physical bodies and in the physical world that surrounds us. And as we move forward deeper on our spiritual path, we become illumined and aware to the fact that, wow, what I think about, I bring about, and that thought creates matter. And so I like to think about this in terms of, when we are born, I believe that we come in with a certain vibration, with a certain signature vibration. And that vibration is equal to a certain color, right? And a certain sound. So we can think that as we are born into a certain keynote, right? A certain resonance. If we think about the scale that we know, the chromatic, the solfeggio, whichever scale you think about, that we come in, right, resonating at a certain whiz, at a certain atomic structure whizzing within us. And that we always have that signature vibration within us. And that signature vibration carries our karmas, our lessons, and all the good stuff too that we bring over into this life. But it also carries all those parts of ourselves that are ready to be healed, right? That are ready to be moved up from the subconscious, unconscious into the conscious, to be brought to the love, to be brought to the light of consciousness within us and all around, so that we can indeed experience heaven on earth. So we can indeed experience a heaven on earth realization. And it sounds easy, and on some levels it is easy, yet it takes a certain work. It takes a certain discipline and devotion to wanting to cultivate a peaceful life within our own minds, within our own bodies, so that we can see that and feel that and extend that energy all around us. And it all begins within. So as we're born into this world and we have this certain cycles per second, say you were born in with the resonance that resonates to the color red, it doesn't mean that your aura is going to be red for the rest of your life, but it means that that is the baseline that you've come into this dimension with at this time in this lifetime. And you can change that. In fact, we change it all the time. Remember last week's 4D Trinity, we were talking about body of water, right? Miracles, and how we are made up mostly of water. There's more water in us physically than anything else, and how really penetrable the consciousness of water is, and that just like that, we can shift our consciousness, we can shift our vibration, we can raise our vibration by placing a blessing over our water. In fact, I want to invite you, if you have a glass of water nearby, as I do, or if you want to go and grab one, it is just so very simple to bless your water. You can simply hold it up and think, I love you. You are beautiful. You are love. I am love. And just that vibration of speaking that into the water, just your thoughts, if you cannot speak it into the water, has a energetic component that reconfigures the molecular structure of your water. And this was proven by researcher Dr. Emoto, in that he would freeze water crystals after they had been subjected to different experiments of whether it was positive and loving thoughts or negative thoughts into that water, and then how we place that water into us and how that water interfaces with the rest of the water in our bodies, and how that can create absolute instantaneous shifts. So we can shift our vibration, we can raise our vibration really quite easily. In some cases, again, it's easier than others where there's a lot of past pain, trauma, memory in us, then it maybe will take a little bit more work. Yet, the more we work at it, the more we allow ourselves to surrender to the healing of our life, to the healing of our path, the easier it becomes. It becomes easier and easier to peel the onion layers and to go deeper and deeper with less and less fear. So the cycles per second is the whizzing of those structures. You know, if you meditate, if you go and you take a yoga class, if you do something, you're still in nature, your energy shifts, right? Your vibration shifts and it raises from denser, more third dimensional, dualistic sort of love versus fear system of being into a finer frequency that is that 4D, that is the love and only love frequency. Now, and here, what we're really doing is we're moving into the heart. As we raise our vibration, it is all about opening up that heart center, opening up the heart center to love, to unconditional love. And it begins within. We are our own teacher. We are our own student. And we can begin to shift and raise our vibration at any moment that we decide to place love. As you may know, I am a Reiki master of many, many years. I've written a book, The Reiki+apprentice, and it goes through the entire cycle of my past as a youth, but mostly documenting my 3-year apprenticeship with my Grand Reiki master and how I learned to use Reiki to heal those deep, caked in, baked in, locked in past memories of trauma, of pain, of being a victim in this world. And ultimately, why I'm sharing this with you is that I've learned that when we use Reiki, all we're doing is we are placing love. We are saying yes to giving rise, to love being present, to channeling through, and allowing love to create the correct conditions whereby the body, the mind, the emotions can heal itself. We are allowing love, as I like to call it, the quantum organizer, to do the work for us. It has a magnificent, miraculous quality where it can perform miracles beyond the way that we think they might have to be created from our 3D self. And someone else has just hopped on. Let me have a look. Truth of life. Will I be able to settle in abroad? Oh, wow. That's a random question. I don't know. Let's see. That's very interesting that you asked that. Will I be able to settle in abroad? Well, that brings me back to intuition. What does your intuition say? And it's interesting that you bring that up because a little while ago, in another 4D Trinity, and I'm trying to remember, it was a few 4Ds ago, and I made a small clip that I'll come back and I'll put a post up here, a link up there. And we broke down the word intuition. And it's all about, and in fact, let's go ahead and use this as a moment now. So I want to make sure that you can see this. Intuition. Okay. And what we did is we broke it down like this. In, I pray you can see this, in, to, I, and then we've cornered off shun. And ultimately, it is when we are casting a question, right, out into the world, you're asking outside of yourself, and we know, as we are on this spiritual path, what is a common theme is that all of the answers are within us. And there's a part of us that already knows. And it's very interesting. I would recommend to you Truth of Life to go onto this week's tarot reading, and there could be some information for you there, because it's highly demonstrates that we are all in a place of perhaps asking a question at this time. But ultimately, why I'm bringing this up is that you're in to E, shun, is into I. When we perform our intuition, when we sit and we become still and we ask our intuition, we are asking, we are going into the I that is connected to love, the I that is connected to source, if you call it God, if you call it the universe, whatever name you give it, that is connected to the truth of you, to the love of you. And many weeks ago during that 4D Trinity, I remember Will was kind enough to look up ion. And I wrote down that an ion is a charged particle, right? It is an atom that has either lost or gained electrons of negative or positive polarity. And I think this is very interesting because I wasn't able to put it together that week when we did that 4D Trinity. But as you know, if you follow these teachings and these lessons, that where we're going as we move into 4D consciousness, where we're going as we open our hearts collectively, right, individually and collectively, is we're going beyond the 3D. We're going beyond what makes sense in the logic of this world as we've been taught. And it's interesting because if an ion is a charged particle, right? And I remember this charged particle, it can be positively or negatively charged, but not neutral. And ultimately the I, when we go into I and we ask our higher self, we attune and we really, really listen, that I, again, that is inside of us is connected to the divine source, to that part of us that is a part of our divine puzzle piece fitting into the perfect life path for us. So again, we always know. And into I is different from, even though it's contained in the word intuition, what we're doing is we're really going into the I of ourselves, away from the ionic structures of negative and positive polarity. We're going into that neutral space. And I think it's very interesting, as I was looking up deeper into the meaning of the word ion, that all atoms have a neutral charge. All atoms have a neutral charge. So innately, you and I are neutral. We have the capacity to be zero, to be one, to be neither charged with love, charged with fear, but to really come into that solid state and that true alignment where love resides. So as we go into the I of truth of ourselves, where all of the answers are, we're moving away from the atoms of polarity, the atoms of negative and positive polarity. So I pray that serves your path, right, in some way, shape, and form as we move on this morning. So thank you for that. You know, there's this keynote tool that I learned with my teacher that I use all the time, and it's called the keynote. And since everyone has a vibrational sequence, right, the cycles per seconds of the way that their atomic structures are whizzing at any given time and space, and that vibration, right, that whizzing of atomic structures can be demonstrated through a keynote, through a sound, through the key of C, the key of F or G, etc. What you can do is you can sign yourself into the keynote of a project you're working on, of a group. I know whenever I teach yoga, I always sign myself. It's always for the highest good. There's no weird woo-woo going on. But I sign myself into the keynote of the class as a greater whole. And by doing that, what I'm doing is I'm creating a bridge of communication, a bridge of connection through which I can then channel for the highest good on that level of where the aggregate keynote of that class is and deliver what truly serves for that class. So it's not about me thinking that I know what's going to serve this class, but it's about, let me sign into the keynote of this class and truly be there and allow that higher divine wisdom to channel through me. So like that, each individual has a keynote, you have a keynote, a group has a keynote. And when I did it in my meditation this morning, I asked to be signed into the keynote of this collective group this morning. And I heard that we are in the key of G this morning, which is interesting because often, for some reason, keynote groups that I work with are in the key of F. So it's interesting because at the beginning, when we work together, if I tap in later, I will find that the whole keynote has perhaps shifted in one way or another. And why am I saying this? I'm saying this because everything has a signature vibration. Everything has a keynote. Everything is a resonance, right? Has a resonance property. And it's up to us to begin to decide whether we even want to venture on this realm and explore and understand it more as a means to understand how we feel. So this intuition, if you're asking, should I move abroad? How do you feel? Because your feelings will always help you decide and govern, right, what the next step is. Even if you don't get a clear, big Vegas lights yes or no, there is something, there is a waiting period perhaps where we get to be patient and listen while other parts of the puzzle piece come together before we make that coherent, clear decision. And so when we tune in to the I, we are tuning in to our resonant keynote that will connect us to source and receive those downloads of what truly serves us. And there was a point, and now I'm forgetting it, I'm going off. Connecting to, so it's all about connecting to how you feel, and that there's a shift in the atomic structures. So when you do have a question, and you cast the stone within the eye of the self, and you say, should I move abroad? What's this about? Enlighten me, divine source, enlighten me, higher self. Listen and feel. Your intuition, I believe at this point, and I could change this as my discoveries deepen, is that there is the ability to intuit spiritually. And that's our intuition. It is that spiritual, that higher knowing, that is just that knowing, where you just don't even know how you know, but you know. You know? So there's that level of intuition, but there's also the 3D, the physical level of intuition. That is your gut in your body, the way you really can have a sense and feel what feels right and what feels wrong for you. So that's another way to work with that energy. And raising your vibration, bringing it all back around, you will know the truth by the way it feels. That is a beautiful saying that we see probably often posted in social media and here and there. And so if you become excited, if you feel yourself becoming happy and illumined at the idea of moving abroad, at the idea of taking on a new job or whatever it might be, then there's an excitement and your cycles per second is shifting. And you get to notice, is this raising my vibration or is it lowering my vibration, right? And that is working with our intuition. That is tuning in to the more subtle planes of how we exist. And so when you feel this shift in your atoms, sometimes it's, again, we take a yoga class, we go to a spiritual workshop, we spend time in nature, or we go and we receive a healing, right? Or when you're just when you're around certain people, you can feel your vibration, your frequency shift, right? And it's either going to shift into raising your vibration or it's going to shift into a lowering of your vibration. And at that point, we get to really navigate and discern without judgment, but truly discern as our higher selves, what is serving me and what is not serving me. And this is the ultimate lesson of moving deeper into the realm of understanding this idea of raising your vibration. So many ways we are simply guided by subconscious, unconscious beliefs. And as those beliefs are rooted in fear, and as we allow those beliefs to guide us, we are simply creating deeper inroads to connect with that fear. And so experience that through our perceptual lenses of how we see the universe, of how we see the world, of how we see people, places, and things. Right? And there's a certain feeling that we get. Maybe you go into a yoga class feeling grumpy and out of sorts, and you have a really good class and you really like the teacher and just their energy of how they shared, and you can feel a shift in your atoms. You can feel your energy has shifted. You can feel a raising of your vibration. And equally so, if we're around people that have a lot of grudges or grievances or that have a lot of hate or anger, we can feel that pull towards us, right? And perhaps want to pull us into lowering our vibration. And sometimes it's just being around certain people that we know and that we even love, right? It could be mom, it could be dad, it could be your boss, where you're like, whoa, is this like raising my vibration being around this person, or is this trying to pull me into lowering my vibration? And ultimately, we have the power, we have the choice to choose whether we are going to react, whether we are going to be triggered or not. We have the choice to choose if I'm going to maintain my vibration and keep it here. And in a little bit, we're going to be using the board and we're going to make a list. I'm going to ask you to help me to make a list of what helps to raise our vibration versus what helps and assists to lower it. So speaking about being triggered, when you are easily triggered, right, this reflects a potential for leaky energy, a potential for our energy body, if we think about our aura being this beautiful, shining, glowing, impenetrable sheath and layer of light, right? As we are easily triggered and taken off of our center and allowed our vibration to lower, right, through people, places, things, situations in the world, if that is done on a repetitive level, what happens is we begin to create inlets and fissures to activate through the aura shield. And so more of that like energy will come in to trigger us to reflect what we are deciding is the truth, what we are deciding to put our energy and our attention into, right? Whatever that is, whether it's something, again, that reflects anger or fear or violence. If we do that enough, and you know, if that's your calling and that's your place of study, and you know how to hold your center, your peace and your light, and be in that world and not be affected by it, meaning you don't become that anger, you don't become that violence, then that's your flow of your work. And perhaps you are there to simply be the love and the light in that situation, and to, on the higher level, shift the frequency, shift the vibration, raise the vibration of those people, places, or things around you. Yet, when we are in those situations, unconsciously, subconsciously, and we wonder why when we come out of them, we feel all discombobulated, we feel affected, we feel like, man, I'm like totally bummed out now after that interaction with this person, and I can't get it off of my mind. This is where we recognize that there's some place for us to do work here. There's a place there for us. Why am I being triggered? What am I allowing in that is consequentially lowering my vibration? And how can I heal that? How can I fix that within myself, right? So that I can raise my vibration and come back into that space of the heart, come back into that space of unconditional love. And there are many simple practices to do that. Again, coming back to the story I was telling you about earlier, where ultimately I learned that practicing Reiki on myself and others is all about placing love in that moment, in that time and space. And so simply, you can simply say, I place love here. I place love here, right? Because we know as we become triggered, we continue allowing ourselves into those situations, and then we start to judge those people or places that we are perceiving are acting violent or acting fear-based or ruining the world or devastating my energy or whatever it is, then we are judging them, and then we are creating more connections with that energy through which it to pipe into us, and for us to feed it and for it to feed us. And so I place love there. The moment you feel yourself being triggered, the moment you feel yourself giving in to fear-based thoughts, fear-based realities, you can shift that by saying, I place love here within myself, and I place love outside of myself. And instantly you are released. You are released. Now, I know some situations are a little denser or a little thicker than others. And so you may feel yourself placing love over and over and over again, or using a multitude of other modalities you may have at hand. Okay. So like energy attracts like energy. So where there is something that seems to upset your vibration, that seems to want to draw you into lowering your vibration, again, is it them? Is it that thing, person, place, or thing, or scenario? You know, if you were clear within yourself, if you did not have a judgment, if you did not have a past memory, right, in your cells about that from a dual plane of existence, you would simply look right through that with your third eye vision activated from your heart center, and you would see through the veils and know that that is just simply the world. This is simply the plane of the 3D, and the way that we all as humans, right, on a subconscious or unconscious level, until we realize that there is another choice, that we can choose love and only love. That's the, you know, the ping pong game of being pulled and pushed from raising our vibration to lowering our vibration, to, you know, being in a state of happiness and joy, of just contentment, to being depressed and feeling that the world is out to get us. So that as we heal those parts of ourselves that have those strong reactions, that have those judgments and those criticisms, we begin to, as we are confronted with those potentials to take us down, to lower our vibration, we can easily place love. We are already seeing through the lenses of love. And so not be affected, not allow our vibration to lower. And, you know, there's one thing that I've been working with for about a month now. I had found myself in this past month having a consistent and repetitive thought in my mind that really was not serving me. Every time I had that thought, I could feel my vibration lowering. Oh, it's the God phone. It's the God phone. So we'll come back to that moment. Let's see. Hello? Blessings, God. How are you? You are well. Wonderful. I am well too. Yeah, we're breaking it down today about raising our vibration. I was just going to talk about that, and then you called. Absolutely. Yes, yes. Okay, we're going to do a little reading. I love that book, Spiritual Growth by Sonia Roman. I would love to do that. Ah, okay, we'll do that. Blessings. God says hi, everyone. Okay, namaste, dear God. Blessings. So that's funny. God's all like, okay, I want you to read this paragraph or so in this book, which I love, Spiritual Growth by Sonia Roman. But also God was saying, and go ahead and finish your point before you do that. So we'll go ahead and do that. So with those thoughts that kept coming up repetitively, I could feel them just like wanting to nag at me, get at me. And obviously, again, this was a part in me where I had allowed that thought in. I had allowed that thought to start penetrating through the healthy, stealthy veil of my aura and make an inroad into me. And then once it had gotten in, and I gave it my attention and I judged it and I saw it as bad and I put my own polarity on it and had my own internal reactions to it, it made space for more of that thought to come in. And you know, as you allow one negative or inappropriate thought in, all of a sudden that creates the space for more and more and more of those thoughts to be ushered in. And I was like, man, okay, please, higher self, help me. Help me. What is a system that I can do? And I know there are many systems, and I've shared them on these 4D Trinities and otherwise, and in my books. Yet I was like, I want something new. You know, what right now, you know, for this specific thought, help me, higher self. How can I get through this? How can I work out, you know, these lower vibrations so that I can bring my vibration back up, seal this part of me where this leaky energy was coming in and allowing more of those thoughts. And my higher self gave me this little idea that I want to share with you. And it is erase, replace through all time and space. Erase, replace through all time and space. So if we think about it, anytime you have a thought, because you know, you don't even have to be out in the world. You could be sitting on your couch watching TV or playing video games, whatever your gig is. And all of a sudden you have this thought and you can feel your energy every time you give rise and you think about it more and more. You can feel your energy becoming lower and denser and denser. Well, what you can do is you can erase that thought, erase it, and then replace it. What visual or what word or what feeling would you replace it with, right? Erase it. It's like it's like deleting it, putting it in the trash on your computer and then pressing empty trash where it's, you know how it always comes up. I don't know what it's like on a PC, but on a Mac, when you empty the trash, it says, you know, are you sure? Because this thing will be gone forever and it could never be retrieved again. And it's that kind of thing where as you erase it, you're deleting it, putting it in the trash, and it's emptying the trash. And then you're replacing that thought with something more appropriate that's going to connect you and bind you and ground you into something that's going to bring you back into raising your vibration. And then you're running it through all time and space. Through all time and space, as we know, again, there was another 4D a little while ago where we were talking about quantum realities, parallel timelines and such. So we exist on a quantum level, right? And if we just think about this very simply, in the 3D terms, there's the past, there's the present, there's the future. And we've placed our thoughts and our awareness on so many different levels. And we exist, right? As we think about the past, as we give rise to thinking about the past is real to us. As we give way to thinking about the future is real to us. So what versions of ourselves are we seeing there? Are we placing there? But if we think that all of these versions of ourselves that have existed through all time and space are present in this holographic universe, and especially to the degree that we are, especially to the degree, if you believe in reincarnation, then there's even more multiples of possibilities of all the ways that you have existed through all time and space. Time being the beginning, the marker beginning of when as a collective we've decided that time actually began, right? Which is an illusion in itself, but for the sake of this point here, when you feel, when you sense, when you hear that thought, when you're interacting with the person, place, thing, situation, and that negative thought or that something comes in, and again, maybe it's just floats by and you can go like, okay, that's so not mine, that's not mine, and then you have the ability to not go there again. But if that thought keeps coming in, erase it, replace it through all time and space. Erase, replace through all time and space. So what happens is you've erased it again, you've placed a new picture, a new, and for me, it's so interesting because this thought had nothing at all to do with Lakshmi. There's an Indian deity called Lakshmi. Yet that's what my higher self said. It said, erase it, replace it with Lakshmi, and run it through all time and space. And so what it does, again, we're erasing, placing something new there that raises the vibration through all of those versions of you that exist through all time and space, so that anywhere and any version of you that has ever existed throughout all time and space, any part of you that holds a particle of that being true, of that thought that brings you down, of that lowers your vibration, any little part and inlet in you that exists through all time and space, you are erasing it, you are replacing it, and you are running it through all of those versions of yourself. I tell you, it has taken me a month to delete this thought. And I recognize that perhaps then that means that it had really had an inroad in me, in my consciousness, on through so many different levels of my being. And it took that amount of time for me to shift my reality, where I could then begin to live in a different reality, because as those thoughts kept coming in, and as I would be affected by them and I would become angry and I'd be like, God, what's going on? Why can't I just, this is so frustrating. As I would give them my energy, my vibration would lower, but also those thoughts that were coming in were beginning to matter. They were beginning to become a real thing in the 3D reality. And I know that's a whole other conversation. Is 3D reality really real, right? So, but in the 3D matrix that we live in, those thoughts were contributing to what I began to see in my reality. And I was like, oh man, it's one thing having this thought in my head, but it's another thing, this actually becoming a thing in my world. And I'm like, oh, hell no, we are not having that. And that's when I said, okay, universe, okay, higher self, please help guide me. Let's get a new tool in here. Erase, replace through all time and space. And I love that. I feel that it's so potent, and I invite you to work it. Okay. Sarahi, oh, blessings, sister. You're late, but you're here. Hey, thank you so much for joining. Okay, so let's see. Moving on. What we see and feel on the inside is what you see and you experience on the outside, right? And this is, again, another saying that we think about that is often said in the spiritual communities, in the way that we create our reality, okay? But this is very interesting. I have a little personal story to share about this. If you read my book, The Reiki Apprentice, you will know that for years and years and years, I was a conspiracy theorist, and I really had a lot of heavy, deep, deep beliefs that the world was out to get me, that the government was false, and that it couldn't be trusted, the world was not a safe place, etc., etc., and that really the man was out to get us all, right, and to suppress us. And perhaps, right, in this 3D, there are realms where that is true. But ultimately, we are learning to bridge ourselves through unity consciousness, through the 4D, to anchor through our hearts into the 4D consciousness, where whatever that stuff is, it doesn't even matter. But to me, back in the day, that stuff really, really mattered. And as such, anyway, over the years, that belief or that polarity that had anchored me into the world and kept that perpetuation and kept me seeing things to prove it right, you see, that's another example. You see, that's another example where it would be validated. Well, back in the day when I had that really strong connection to conspiracy theories and such, that's back in the day when we still had dial-up. When the internet was kind of new, and where sometimes it would take like 5 minutes to write just one little email. And, and it's so interesting because, why am I even telling you this? It's so interesting because it has become refined now over the years, where we did not have access. Back in the day, we did not have access to all of these Facebooks and Twitters and social medias where you could see these repetitions of really odd or weird or violent or of where that would affirm and confirm, yeah, the government's down on the man, or police brutality, whatever all these things are, right? Yet, the more and more that we have access to this validating those truths, right? If you find yourself in a conspiracy theory grid or realm and that's a part of your truth, I fully respect it. That was a part of my truth for many years. And I have allowed myself to place so much love that now I'm not above it. I just don't hold so much mind about it, where I don't have to see it and create it for it to be validated in my life over and over again. I choose love, I choose light, beautiful blessings abound. And so there's less and less of that stuff I come into contact with. Yet the point of the story is that I am on social media. I'm on Instagram. All my links to my books, my Instagram, my website are down in the Show More box. So come and check it out if you're guided. But I follow a large, cacophony of people. And some of them are on the cusp of the conspiracy theory thing. There's a part of me that's still like, well, this is a thread, this is a grid in the world. And it's intriguing to me to know what and how the world are perceiving the world. So I've noticed that I have to be very mindful, right? As we raise our vibration and we become more spiritually sensitive to the polarized level of existence in this 3D, we get to be very mindful of what we allow in, of what information we allow into our consciousness, into our field, because we understand that even as you have your halo on and you are attuned with Christ consciousness, you are attuned with your higher self and all that stuff, if you see enough of that, of those clips in social media of violence, of police brutality, of whatever it is, things that are based in fear, that will find a way in, and it will connect again with those unconscious, subconscious levels of us, and it will begin to take root again. So my point is that I'm on Instagram, I follow many different types of people, and some of them are conspiracy theorists, and I find it just very, very interesting, right? And what I had noticed is I was at Target buying some oil for my car, and I came out and walking back to the car in the parking lot, and there was this woman with a car door open doing something in the car, and I just had noticed her, and she turns around to me and she goes, hey, hey, hey. And instantly I felt like this detachment, not a healthy detachment, but it came from a polarized place where I was like, why is she looking at me? Why is she talking to me? Instead of that Christ consciousness of like, yes, how can I help? I felt that energy come up in me that was resistant to help my sister, that was resistant to explore that. And now, mind you, again, our intuition will always guide us to the truth. It will never, ever steer us wrong. Yet I was not in my intuition in that moment. I was in my headspace, right? Connected and plugged into all of those fear-based things of like, you can't trust your brother, you can't trust your sister. And I wasn't really even aware that I was walking with this until this incident happened where she was calling me over. And I was like, what's up? And I mindfully stepped over to the car. And instantly she started explaining to me, she's like, this old man is in this car, his wife is in the Target, and she left him here without the AC on. And he was like this old, fragile 97-year-old man who could hardly even he was shaky and all that stuff. And I guess they just didn't think. And the wife had gone in and left him in the car, and he had waved down this other girl to help get the AC on, to help him do something so he can be comfortable there. And of course, instantly I was like, fuck you, fucking ego, damn. Pardon my French, but in that way of like, for that split second, I had allowed the tar body, I had allowed that toxic twin of the light body to get the better of me and to perceive, to cast a judgment, to cast a fear-based reality into my zone. Right? When ultimately this woman was doing a beautiful, kind deed for this man, and she interacted with me to help hold space to make it even better. So long story short, ultimately got the AC on, the man was fine, everything was fine. She went her way, I went my way. But I'm just offering that because it is so very interesting the way, right, what we feed ourselves. We get to be very mindful of what we invite in, what we feed ourselves, because it will affect us. right? Even if you think, you know, Reiki master, yoga teacher, whatever, spiritual apprentice, whatever you feel that you are, there is the capacity for those inroads to happen, for that information to get in on a subconscious level that we don't even know is driving us. And then we're met with a situation, and then we get to really see how we react. So, you know, I had to check myself. So we are checking ourselves, right? We are becoming conscious from unconscious to conscious, and we are deciding, am I going to choose love here? Am I going to choose fear? Because either one will either raise our vibration by choosing to see with the lenses of love, creating the metaphysics as I choose to see and perceive love. I'm creating the groundwork for that to be. So even if that woman had some weird, you know, thing that she was inviting me into that was inappropriate or that was on the negative level of the scale, if I was able to hold very clearly my intention of seeing love and only love, according to the metaphysics of the highest alchemy, that would have the power and potential to dissolve any negative inroads that she might come at me with, and allow for that to metaphysically, for that exchange to metaphysically shift and change, all through my perception. So I want to have, we're going to read from the Spiritual Growth. Amanda, blessings, welcome. I'm so very grateful for everyone joining in. So as you know, or maybe you missed it, we had a call from the God phone, as we do at every 4D Trinity here. And God was saying, go ahead and read a paragraph or so from this book, Spiritual Growth. And just a little note, you know, as I was coming up in my, just in my healing and in my spiritual growth myself, I came across this book, and I, I read it cover to cover about 1 million times, right? That's, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't 1 million, but it felt like 1 million times. And it had such a powerful effect on me, being able to learn this language of light, being able to discern, right? And learn and navigate how to be in the world and not of it. Because ultimately that's where we're going. So we're learning how to open our hearts, how to still be a human being, right? We all have a body here. There's a part of us that is a human being, yet we are learning how to be in the world and not of it, not of those polarized, dualistic mind frames. And this book really helped me. I had read it 1 million times, as I said, to the point where pages were falling out. I had to put a big piece of tape on the outside. And eventually that book, I think one of my very, very, very early apprentices, I actually gave it to her. And, you know, everyone moves and we move on and stuff. And so I hadn't had it for years, for probably close to 10 years. And then I'm at a dear friend's home, and she's clearing out her books. And she goes, oh, there's a stack of books on the table. Take what you'd like. What's sitting there but this book? And I thought, oh, I love it. Let's have a reunion and come back together. So beautifully so, there is a chapter 8 in the book called Raising Your Vibration. We're going to read just the first paragraph. Raising your vibration comes from opening your heart. When you feel loving, you experience more aliveness, expansion, and renewal. Love is flowing with the universe rather than resisting it. Love is a willingness to be vulnerable. It is accepting yourself and others just as you and they are. Unconditional love dissolves all separateness. As you learn to love yourself and others more, you increase your vibration. Your energy takes on the smoother, finer vibrations of the higher dimensions, and you become your higher self. Love is the doorway to enlightenment. Oh, I love that. Love is the doorway to enlightenment. Blessings. All right, we have another person joining us. Farzin, I pray I'm pronouncing that correctly. Blessings and welcome. So isn't that just so beautiful, right? It's all at the heart, the alchemy of us being able to choose love, to see love, to hold the space of love consciously on purpose is what creates the metaphysical shift and changes of the alchemy within us, and then extend it out through all time and space, through all the ways that we experience our life. And I speak about this often, but we think about, and I pray you can see this, it's a little glary. I do have a little video. I'll come back and I'll put a link above. The light body versus the tar body. So we think about this term, the light body, being the version of us that is fully calibrated in love, that is working on ourselves with a discipline, devotion to being our higher self. The higher self being that version of ourself, we can say, that is like the Holy Spirit, right? And I think it's funny that the higher self and the Holy Spirit both have initials HS. And if you're not biblical and you don't dig that stuff, that's fine, no worries. But it's like the voice for God, if you will. It is the voice of your higher self. It is the voice of love speaking through you. And when we are attuned and aligned and we do our work to heal ourselves, to ground ourselves, to raise our vibration, we calibrate the light body. Our aura becomes impenetrable, or as we like to say, unfuckable with, because we are rooted and grounded in love. And when you are rooted and grounded in love, nothing can touch you. Right? Nothing can penetrate you. Now, of course, to the degree, like my story was sharing earlier, yes, we practice. Yes, I practice love and only love. Yet, as I allow myself to watch these little social media videos and stuff, there's a part of that had gotten in, that had infiltrated into my 3D reality through that story I told you earlier. Yet, the tipping point is still to such a scale of love that I allowed myself to walk over and to have this exchange with this woman versus thinking like, she's crazy, she's going to try to rob me, let me run to my car. You know, there was enough of a tipping point within me that was already on the scale of love that allowed me to enter that domain, that circle of light with her and say like, what's up? You know, how can I help? Instead of like running away from fear. Now, when we are not raising our vibration, when we are not activating all of those capacities for us to live as our light body, what happens is we give rise to the tar body. And the tar body, as you see, is completely different. Right? This is this smoke and mirrors. This is all of the toxic versions of ourselves that have ever existed through all time and space. We give rise, and I pray you can see that. I know it's very glary in here. And again, I'll put a video. I have a little 1-minute video in my playlist, Science and Spirituality. Let me hold this up a little closer. So we turn on the tar body. And the tar body is made up of all of those parts of ourselves that identify with fear-based realities, that identify with pain, with fear, with trauma, with being a victim in the world, that identify with being a victim, right? That hold and that lock a lot of emotions and mental pollutants throughout the energy bodies. And eventually, right, as we, and it's interesting, right? Like we were talking about, we can go from like being more light body, raising our vibration, to boom, all of a sudden, we have a situation with the mother or the boss or whatever, or in the parking lot, and we can easily go back into the tar body and be like, you know, living from fear, and then all of a sudden have a switch again, and oh, okay, no, it's okay. Let me raise that vibration again, shift it back into that place of love. And the tar body are the parts of ourselves that want to hold us back and be the little s, the version of ourselves that do not shine our light, that do not trust in love, that live in fear, that think that everyone is out to get us on some level. And it's very interesting because the more that we become enlightened and the more that we choose love, the more that we move on our spiritual path of healing and growth, we are invited to heal those memories, to heal those parts of us that hold those memories of toxic, you know, patterns of pain, that hold grudges, that hold unforgiveness. And so that perpetuate that reality, and that bleeds into every part of ourselves. And so we are always with the opportunity to feed the light body, as I say, and starve the tar body. And that's what we're doing here. As we learn to raise our vibration, we are learning to feed the light body, to turn on our light of love and starve the tar body, so that as, again, those negative thoughts come in, those negative reactions, those situations come in that want us, that are like inviting us, the tar body, right? The light body's evil toxic twin, as it begins to want to grip you and call you in, erase, replace through all time and space, right? That's our mantra. So I'm going to read here. There's a few comments I'm going to look at. Blessings, hello. You love women's feet. Okay. Funny. I'm going to just turn on the fan. It's a little warm in here. I'm going to turn on the fan. I'll be back in 2 shakes. So isn't it interesting as well, because, you know, this character who's on here in the comments, now I can decide to allow that to lower my vibration. I can decide to come back and, you know, negatively respond, or I can place love there. And I choose to place love there. And so it is. Okay. So let's see. We're going to do a little work here on the board. One more thing though, before we go there, is, you know, I've worked as a healer, teacher, facilitator, Reiki master, and whatnot. I've worked with a lot of people who have gone through addiction, chemical, substance addiction. And it's so interesting because when that tar body is given the right of way versus the wisdom of the light body, what happens is the truth that is love switches. And what I've seen in these individuals is that love becomes fear and fear becomes love. And I wrote this note last night. Let me just read it. Raising our vibration from fear to love. We think we have to fear love and love fear. You know, and it's interesting because I've worked with addicts that are now Reiki masters, and they, in that addict mind frame, in that world frame of being an addict, the tar body is given so much fuel through those substances to create itself as a real living entity that it becomes a safe harbor, it becomes a safe place to be, right? To be living in fear, to be non-trusting, to feel that everyone is out to get them. And it's almost like this huge learning curve, right? It's like that Superman character, like bending the, I don't know, the lead or the steel, but it's like, that's what we get to do as we shift from lower vibration to raising our vibration, especially where there's some deep, deep anchored in stuff, or in this case, it's working with someone that's got some addictions, or if you have addictions yourself, really turning that corner where, and I've seen this, where this shift, where these individuals have become so locked in fear and feeling that fear is the actual love. They've become so used to living in that fear that it becomes challenging to trust love. They've learned to fear the real love. And so it takes this shift, right, to move from tar body realities into that light body frequency where you are free, where you are sovereign, right, where you become a master of your time and space. And it is interesting as well. I wrote another note. We are becoming, you know, that we have a choice. As I've shared here before, my mother is a Kadampa Buddhist. And from time to time, we have chats about her teachings, her beliefs that she's in. And the Buddhists have this thing where they, you know, want to just work out as much karma as possible so that they can get off the wheel, so that they can get off this worldly wheel of having to come back over and over again and work out these issues. They just want to live clean, clear, pure, virtuous, be gentle with the world, be gentle with themselves and with others, so that they don't have to keep coming back and dealing with these scenarios anymore. And so to a fashion, let's see, I wrote down, it's like a perpetual karma machine. And this is slightly inspired by Adamus. I watch and I follow Adamus, who is, Jeffrey Hoppe is a channel who channels Adamus, which is a variation, a version of Saint Germain, who I love. But he said something, and I was listening to it, and he said, you know, that we're either, and this is my own frame on it, but we're either perpetual karma machines in terms of we keep creating those circumstances, those lessons, those issues to keep us on the worldly wheel, or we can become perpetual motion vehicles, right? Whereby our Merkaba, our energy body, our light body calibrates and raises us, raises our vibration into a very different level of being. As you know, if you begin to open your heart more and more and trust it, you know that love is the absolute truth. And love, really, love and only love is unfuckable with. And when we are allowing ourselves to stand in that light of love, there is no time and space. It collapses time and space. It collapses the past. It collapses the future, leaving you in the here and the now, where love is always the truth. And when we operate from that place, I like to call it living our dharma, right, dissolves our karma. We don't have to keep living those lessons and creating more of those lessons to learn from, to go through, right? As we catch on and we begin to realize, like, oh, I actually have a choice. You can begin to exercise all of those tools, all of those spiritual practices that bring you into that greater alignment with love, so that you can start to hear and listen into into the true heart of you, and allow, surrender to it, make moves in the 3D from it, surrender to it in your heart. And that allows us to listen to the heart and the heart's guidance. And as we allow ourselves to more and more and more, with each little inkling, the louder that intuition, that voice of the higher self speaks through us, and we allow ourselves to trust it and act on it, then we start collapsing those repetition, what's the word? We start collapsing those old patterns that create those karmas, and we start to live our dharma. And when we live from that dharma, that wisdom, that compassionate truth within us, what happens is that we stop creating all those karmas, that we have all these lessons to learn, and we can start to relax and enjoy this life and start to live heaven on earth. We become realized through the heart center. And I'm just going to scroll down here in the comments. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, beautiful. So now we are going to work with our board. And I'm very excited about this. I always wanted to be a presenter that wrote on the board. So here we go. And I want to make sure that you can see. And I'm going to ask you now as I start to prepare the board. And I want to make sure that everyone can see here. What practices, what things do you know now help to either raise your vibration or lower your vibration? We're going to make a list. And again, I want to make sure that you can see here clearly. Okay. So, I'm going to write raise vibe, and over here, lower vibe. So please, as you're guided in the comment box, what is it that you know of already that helps to raise your vibration? And what is it that you know that lowers your vibration? And I can see now here that this is, I need to make a little shift. And I think this way, perhaps. Let's see. We're going to see how that works. So what I'm going to share with you is that raising the vibration is us moving into 4D consciousness. That's even worse. Hold on. Let me come over here. Let's see if we can get this just so that you can see. Or maybe I can even move this a little over here. We'll try that. I think we're, by George, I think we're getting there. Okay. So we're going to think about raising our vibration, that this brings us into 4D consciousness, into the heart space. And remember, as the heart opens, your third eye opens. I teach and I believe and I've experienced that the third eye and the heart are like cousins. They're like twins in a way. And the more that we activate the third eye, the pineal gland, the more potential and activation the heart has to awaken, to open, for those petals to unfurl. And equally so, as we open our heart, our ability to open that third eye and to see through the veils of illusion of the 3D, of the duality systems of this 3D, become inclined and activated. So raising our vibration is all about moving into 4D consciousness. 4D. Lowering our vibration is bringing us back into the dual plane of the 3D, where polarity and duality exist. Okay, so 4D is unity. Unity consciousness. 3D is polarity and duality. Right? Polarity and duality consciousness, where love and fear are always at odds with each other, where they're always having to duel and battle over what's right and wrong. And this brings us to, right, what we talk about here is trinary. We talk about trinary and binary. And we think about binary being this 3D system of ones and zeros, of yes and no, of right and wrong, of black and white, where there's only two choices, love or fear. Right? And that's the binary system of the 3D. And we think about that as we are locked into that, and through all the teachings and the societal ways that we are conditioned through our stories and through history and our families, whatever stories that are passed on to us through our cultures and traditions, very worldly based, and can often, you know, feel us, bring us into that feeling of being locked into where we have to choose love or fear, where it has to be one or the other. And ultimately, there's nothing wrong with that. This just seems to be the way the 3D operates. Yet ultimately, as we practice our practices that bring us into a deeper alignment with the 4D, we realize there's more. And what we call that more is trinary. We go from there being only, yes and no, love or fear, into a place where there is another option. And what is that other option? What is that other path? That other path, according to the way that I teach, is love and only love, where there's no more polarity. So we move from binary consciousness to trinary consciousness. Okay, we move from from polarity and dualistic ways of seeing and thinking in the world to unifying ways of seeing in the world. Because ultimately, anything that's lowering our vibration is creating a separation consciousness, is saying that we are not one, is we are asking for that to be validated in our reality. When our vibration is lower and we are allowing those experiences in, and we want to have more of those experiences by believing and putting our energy, our time and attention there, we are saying, yeah, I believe in separation consciousness, and look, there it is in the world to validate that. Although we can feel, we can sense, and we come into this realization that that is actually not the truth. When we come and we align with truth in spirit and through love, we realize that all is one, right? We hear this in our spiritual circles. We are all one. We are all one. And in A Course in Miracles, which I have studied for a couple years, it's basically saying that the metaphysics of it is that you, and Marianne Williamson says this, and I love it. She says that on one hand, it feels that we are separate because I'm in a body, you're in a body, and there's space and time between us. Or if we're all in the same room, I'm over here and you're over there. Yet ultimately, the metaphysics, when we go beyond the veils and we see from the heart and through the third eye, we see that we are all one. And that what I do affects you and what you do affects me. We are all interconnected through this divine tapestry of love and of light. So, moving from separation to unity, right? So, and forgive my spelling. Okay, and then ultimately, what's the point here? Is that when we raise our vibration, we are opening our heart. We are saying yes to love. And when we lower our vibration, we are saying yes to fear. We are closing our hearts. So we are opening the heart, or we are closing the heart. Okay? So anytime we choose one or the other, we are saying yes or no to one or the other level of reality. So, since there's nothing written yet in the comment box, and again, I invite you, what are those practices? And I made notes last night, so don't worry, we have some down here. And in case it's kind of blurry and you're not sure, right? How do I raise my vibration? What things do raise my vibration? What things do lower my vibration? We're going to make a list. And again, as you're guided, please do drop something in the comment box and let us know how you raise your vibration, or what lowers your vibration. So I'm going to erase these things here so we can start a new list of what raises and what lowers our vibration. So thinking about it, what raises your vibration? We've already talked about choosing love, seeing love as a potent alchemating medicine that helps to raise our vibration, right? Oh, and I see there's someone commenting, so I'm going to check that here in a moment, right? And the first thing that I wrote down is acceptance. When we can accept ourselves and the surroundings of whatever's going on in our life through acceptance, all of a sudden, we are lifted out of a limiting plane, that limiting dualistic plane of this 3D reality, and lifted into a realm of the 4D where all good is possible, where all good solutions and potentials become potentiated. I love to use that word, right? In our reality that we are choosing. So acceptance. Acceptance raises our vibration. What lowers our vibration? I'm going to have a look here. You drink water. I love that. Sarahi is saying simply drinking water raises her vibration. I love that. And I would love if you would feel guided, Sarahi, to break that down just a little bit for the rest of the viewers as well, how that raises your vibration. If you're guided in a few words, I would love to read that and share that with everyone. Now, on the other side, what lowers our vibration? The first thing that came to my mind was judgment. When we have a judgment of ourselves or of others, instantly our vibration lowers. Judgment, right? Another thing that came to my mind, what raises my vibration, I know, and what raises the vibration of people, places, environments through many years of practice, I've come to understand that practicing Reiki, right? Sharing Reiki, whether it's with a landscape, with its people, communities, with myself, raises my vibration. What lowers our vibration? Criticism. Anytime we are critical, anytime we are criticizing ourselves or others, we are, again, lowering our vibration. And why is that? Because, again, we are collapsing time into this 3D realm of separation consciousness, where all of a sudden, I'm being critical. I'm not seeing the love in you. I'm not seeing the light in you. I am judging you. And I'm creating static where love truly resides. And so we get to move through the static, move through those veils of illusion and into the place where there is love and only love, back into the trinary, away from the binary. So criticism, right? And another one, in our lowering our vibration, you know, when we hold grudges, we are lowering our vibration. Again, we are saying, yes, that love and fear are the only realms to exist in. And I'm going to choose fear. I'm going to hold on to this grudge, hold on to this pain. And that's going to create the separation reality. And it's also going to tie and bind me and that other person, place, or thing that I'm holding a grudge to. It's going to hold us in a holding pattern whereby love cannot penetrate it, whereby love cannot be the water that waters the seeds of potential of love and only love to be present, right? So as I allow myself to move out of that, to place love there, I can move from that lower vibration to that higher vibration. So holding grudges lowers our vibration. And I see Sarahi wrote a little bit more. I'm going to read this here now. Emotionally being reactive lowers your vibration sometimes. Yeah, being emotionally reactive. Thank you, Sarahi. Emotionally reactive, right? When we react, when we respond, again, as we were saying earlier, that's just showing us that there is a trigger, that there's something in us, there's some root that is seeking. Always, when we have a trigger, when we have something that's emotionally responding us, that's tugging at us, that we react to, it's really a call for love within ourselves. There's something within ourselves where our thinking, where our mind and our emotions are not in alignment with love. Because again, as we allow ourselves to be and to see and to think and believe and beyond belief to actually know that love is the truth, love and love is only the truth, we come into that realm where we can alchemate those emotions within ourselves, and we don't have those same emotional responses. We heal those old responses, those old patterns, and come into unity consciousness, come into a place of peace where we are free, where we can set others free too. On the contrary, emotionally distant, you say as well. Yeah, right? Emotions are such a powerful tool. They are such a powerful tool that can instantly shift us from one to the other. And you know, speaking of water and energy, ultimately what we're doing as we raise our vibration is we are moving from an acidic body-mind emotion configuration to an alkaline vibrational frequency. When we raise our vibration, we are moving into an alkaline vibrational frequency. It is said that when individuals have a very acidic profile in their blood, right, in their blood samples and whatnot, that their immune system is low, that they are more prone to disease, to illness, to ailments, to all sorts of stuff. Again, what is that? That's that leaky energy. That's that aura, you know, having been pummeled by our own thoughts first, our own beliefs first, creating those inroads, those leaky energies, those weaknesses in the auric field that move us from light body into tar body, that allow more of that like energy in. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, Sadahi, but this is just what I've learned, that this is how this realm operates. And so again, as we learn to just shift, right? And sometimes we hold those grudges, we have those criticisms, those, you know, from past experiences. We're like, no, I know that that person is a liar, or I know that that person hurt me, you know, painfully. But as we forgive, as we choose love, as we choose to raise our vibration, the alkalinity within us shifts, or the chemistry within us shifts, and we move from being acidic to alkaline in our body chemistry, in our energetic chemistry as well. And again, when we are alkaline, you are unfuckable with. It is said that when a person's physical body chemistry, when they have a diet that is specifically alkaline, that they will never get cancer. Now, isn't that interesting? Yet when it is otherwise, there's the potential for that, and for other illnesses too. So I think that's a big one for our raising the vibration side, is forgiveness. And if you go into the 4D Trinity playlist, I know at some point we did a 4D Trinity on forgiveness. So it may be of interest to you. So another thing, right? Lowering our vibration is anger. When we get angry, that lowers our vibration. And again, it collapses all the potential and possibility for love and only love to bring a healing, for love and only love to expand the potential of the ways that solutions can be made, even if they're just within your own mind and your own consciousness, so that you can have that breakthrough and move into that parallel timeline, move on that quantum interdimensional level of you, this version of you that is pissed off, that is angry. And I know we're humans. And sometimes, yes, you know, you want to hit that pillow, or like, get into your car and scream. I know, it's natural. I'm not saying this stuff is wrong. We're just demonstrating that on one hand, okay, it's one thing to have that clearing, to stomp your feet and to like, you know, and to do whatever you need to do to let that expression of anger out. Yet it's different when we perpetuate that, and when that becomes the pattern, and we become angry at everyone, everywhere, all the time. And then that becomes a part of our personality trait. That's going to lower our vibration. As we learn to forgive ourselves, as we learn to forget ourselves, which I love going into that, we release those timelines of memory that hold us bound to being that victim, to being angry, to those patterns, those chemical reactions within us that bring us back into the 3D realm of separation versus unity consciousness. So if you have any more, please type them in, everyone. I'd be so grateful. Another thing that lowers our vibration is jealousy. Jealousy, right? Being jealous of someone else, wanting what they have. Coveting, which is a whole other topic, which we won't go into deep right now. But it's that not being with what you have now, not appreciating and blessing and being grateful for what you have now. And there's another one. What raises our vibration? Gratitude. And you know, in that work that we did last week with the body of water miracles on the 4D Trinity, and if you're guided to do a little exploration with Dr. Emoto's work with the water crystal molecules, is that what I have gathered so far is that in his research, that one of the most potent ways to charge your water is to place the vibration of gratitude there. Gratitude and love. And so I'm so very grateful. And you know what I actually do? I don't have a Brita filter in the fridge, but I have the pure, the PUR filter. And I have one of those in the fridge that's like I don't know, it's a 2 or 3 gallon one. So I take the water from the sink, put it in a glass pitcher, right, and fill up the filter in the fridge. And what I do is I fill it up, and maybe I'll make a little video on this, just a little one at some point. As I'm filling up the water from the pipes that comes through the faucet, you know, I look at it, or sometimes I hold it, sometimes I just think it, or I speak it. Bless you. I love you. I thank you. I'm so grateful for you. You are love. I am love. We are love together. And as I'm pouring it into that filter, I'm thinking, I'm saying, I'm speaking, I love you. I'm so grateful for you. You are beautiful. You are blessed. You are perfection. You know, all of these things. And it's interesting. Every time my mother comes over, at her place, she has a Brita filter. And every time she comes over, and I don't know if it's just the Brita, in my own research, on a side note, in my own research, the pure filter actually takes out more impurities, the medications, the opioids, the chemicals, the, you know, all the stuff that comes into our water. But every time she comes over and she has a glass of water here, she's like, that is so good, right? But I'm blessing it, you know, and the blessing is upon that water too. And you can taste it. You can absolutely taste it. Now, I think Sarahi wrote a few more bits, so let's have a look here. Sharing raised vibrations. Yes, absolutely. As you share your love, as you share, right, the raisedness of your vibration, that raises your vibration more. As you just surrender to love and allow yourself to extend it in all directions, unconditionally. That's what we're talking about. That raising our vibration is based in the heart center, right? And beautifully connecting us to that unity consciousness, to one and all. So we'll write a few more before we finish up. Negative thoughts lower our vibration. And remember what we were talking about earlier. Anytime you have a negative thought, erase, replace through all time and space. You erase it, which puts it in the trash. It deletes it, puts it in the trash. It empties the trash, so it never comes back again, to the highest degree that it cannot come back again. You replace it with a vision, a word, a feeling, a something, a visual, a something that represents that energy being raised. And then you run it through all time and space. Anytime a negative thought comes up, erase, replace through all time and space. And you could, that's like a mantra. Erase, it is done. Replace it, see what you want to replace it with, and then you speak or you think through all time and space, and that moves through all the versions of you that exist, through all of the quantum realities, parallel timelines that you have ever existed on, through all time and space, through all dimensions, for the highest good. And so it is. Now, just a few more. Okay, yes, talking about diet. So certain foods, now, and we're all different. You know, some people can eat anything and their vibration will stay high because they bless their food, because they don't have any preconceived notions that it's going to lower their vibration. And isn't it interesting, because sometimes our own, and I don't even know, I think it's all the time, right? That our thoughts, we're all so interlinked and connected with each other. Whatever I think is, whatever you think is. So if I think that a certain food is going to harm me and cause me illness, cause me cancer, if I put that energy into that food, I'm linking through my mind to that food, I'm placing that prayer or that blessing, right, into that food, then as I eat it, that is what the reality is going to be. Yet there's people that eat whatever they want to eat, and they simply bless their food, or they don't even bless it, but they're not coming in with lower vibrational tendencies to whatever that thing is. And so they are simply enjoying whatever it is without consequences, right? And we can go deeper into this, being that depending on the acid alkalinity vibrational frequencies that you hold, whatever level that tipping point is, if you have enough love frequency, you can imagine you can eat anything. And it's really not going to, it's going to have a tougher time. You'd have to really, really eat a lot of harmful foods in order for that to shift the tipping point where illness will be revealed. And on the contrary, right, you can bless your food, you can pray over your food, or not have any bad thoughts about anything you're putting in yourself. And so it will bless you with its proper nutrients to the highest degree that it can. And remember, in my book, The Reiki Apprentice, back in my conspiracy days, I was, there's a chapter where I'm in Australia and I'm backpacking and I get my period. And for years, being an organic, vegan, and whatever all that stuff was, I refused to use traditional tampons because they're, I mean, if you just do some research, I don't need to get on a soapbox here, but I just refused because they're just not, I was very polarized about it and felt that they are just, like, little cancer sticks is what I used to call them. It's just that they're not good to put into my body. And why would I ever want to do that? So I always opted for the organic, for the pure cotton, for all this stuff, right? So I'm out backpacking. No, I'm out camping. No. Yes, I was camping and living on the mountain in Greece. No, this is Australia. I'm sorry. I was in Greece and in Australia in the book. This part takes place in Australia. I'm out with a small group. We're hiking in the bush. I get my period. A girl says, oh, wow, I just happened to have a tampon with me. And I was like, oh, thank God. And then I looked at it and it was like a Tampax. And I was like, fuck, no. And I was so in my conspiracy thing. I was so in all those grids and so like laden with fear. I remember I was like, oh my God. And like, I couldn't use it. Like I was like, and I was so righteous. I was like, I'd rather have blood streaming. And I know this is graphic, so pardon me, but it was like, I'd rather have blood streaming down my leg than put this thing in my body. Like, cause that's how much fear I had placed. That's how much belief that this little thing could harm me, could kill me, could cause me illness. So I refused, right? Years later, I'm with my Reiki teacher. I get my period. I'm at her place. And I go, do you have something? And she's like, oh, go in the bathroom and look in the cupboard. And I'm looking and looking. And I don't find anything. So she comes in and she throws me a tampon. And it's the mainstream one again. And I'm like, and I'm having all these memories of like, I can't put this in my body. Like, no, it's going to kill me. Totally freaking out. And she basically gives me this little teaching whereby we get to realize, again, whatever we think is. And it was such a blessing because I remember learning that I could hold this tampon and whatever it is in your experience in my hands, and I could bless it. And I could, if you're with Reiki, you could Reiki it. I could place love there. And by doing that, it changes the molecular structure. It changes the composition energetically of what that thing was. And that thing in my experience was the tampon. And I remember like I had so many beliefs of fear around these mainstream tampons that it took, again, it's like that Superman, like bending the steel. It's like I had to like really go deep within, use my intuition and ask like, what is the truth here? And my higher self was like, yes, everything is energy. And it's what you decide is what you decide is what you're going to have the reality of. And as that truth sat with me and I took that teaching on, I realized more and more that we can use that anywhere and through all time and space to shift the molecular structure. Now, this said, I still use organic tampons, but if I'm ever in a pinch and all there are mainstream ones, I'm not like hyperventilating on the floor or getting angry and like, and having this whole meltdown. I'm like, oh, okay, I place love here. I'm grateful that this is here in this moment. I know when I get home, I'll have my organic tampons, you know, whatever it is. And then it's like, boom, it's neutralized. It doesn't have the polarity. So the same thing with the food, with everything, with the water, with everything, with our creative projects, you know, place love there, shift the molecular structure. And that's all we're doing. When we raise our vibration is we are shifting the atomic structures within us. We are shifting our vibration literally of the whizzing of those atomic structures, the cycles per second, the rate that those atoms spin within us. When our vibration is low, we can imagine those atoms circulating, vibrating at a lower rate, at a slower rate. When we raise our vibration, all of a sudden that energy raises. And you know, if you've ever been around a holy person, and I mean a sincerely real holy person that's really done their work, they're a guru teacher or something like that, and there's integrity there, right? Not the false gurus, but the real deal integrity there. You'll go to that workshop or to that meditation. And yes, it is your essence as well that you're walking away with. Yet being in their presence has raised your vibration. They have held and amassed such that tipping point of that love and only love, of that unity consciousness, of that 4D, of that heart opening, that third eye opening, beyond the veils of illusion of the 3D, that you leave and you're like, your vibration is raised. Something has shifted, right? And that's all we're learning to do for ourselves. We're learning to hold space for ourselves through raising our vibration, through those choices that we make in every single day, in every single way about ourselves and about others. Now we're going to finish up, but I did want to write just a few more on our raising the vibration side. If I can read my own writing, let's see. Okay, so we have forgiving, gratitude, breath work, right? If you're familiar with pranayama, with any yogic breathing, We can literally shift, again, the vibrational frequency of us, the atomic structures within us through consciously breathing, changes our body chemistry, shifts us from the sympathetic nervous system to the fight or flight, into the rest and digest, into the parasympathetic nervous system, where all is well in all of creation. Oh, and let me see, being self-aware, erase to replace from all time and space. Yes, Sarahi, yes, yes, girl. Okay, so breath work, right? When we do breath work, we shift our consciousness. We shift our consciousness. Crystals, right? Crystals. And I'll have to come back here as well and put a link up. We did a really, I don't know, I had so much fun. It's a long one. I think it's maybe a 2 or 2.5 hour 4D Trinity, where we were talking all about crystals. Woo! And the second half of that, it really goes in deep. So, you know, these little things can help shift our energy. And I remember a Reiki student recently, and I remember saying to her, you know, oh, I'm feeling guided to share with you that it could really serve you at this time to have a crystal on your person, on your body, in your pocket. Of course, cleansed it appropriately, you know, activated it appropriately, but that it could help to, you know, heal, seal, clear, and maintain that strengthened sheath of the light body, that strengthened sheath of the aura. And she said, well, it's so funny because I always wore a tourmaline stone bracelet on my wrist and it just broke. And I was like, well, it feels like I'm guided to say it's time to get a new one, to get a new stone to have on your person. Simple, simple ways to raise our vibration. Again, blessing our water, and we'll see if there's 1 or 2 more. Laughter. And you know what? Another one that I love, oh, besides Epsom salt baths, is receiving love. Receiving love. You know? How good are you? And we don't need to judge ourselves, but receiving love. Receiving love. For many people that are really good at giving, right, at supporting and facilitating love and light and healing for others, it's very easy for us to give, yet for that energy to come full circuit, it's about receiving too. It's about receiving the blessings too, and saying you're welcome and saying thank you. And that's equally as important as us being able to extend love, is to receive love, is to ask for love, to be open to love. You know, just last night on Instagram, I follow this this chap. You know, I spin the staff. I'm not like a pro anything at it. I do it as a spiritual practice. And if you go on Instagram, you'll see from time to time. And there's even some stuff here on the YouTube from last year or 2 years ago where there's a little staff work. and anyway, so he messaged me and we were having a conversation. And where's the phone? Maybe I'll even read it for you. And I won't say his name because, you know, just to keep everything copacetic and with honor to that. Oh, funny. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all sorts of texts all of a sudden, which is very interesting. But I thought this was interesting here. He texts me and he says, your work is inspirational. I don't even remember adding you, but I'm glad I did. And I said, yeah, I think because I spin the staff too, because he spins the staff. And I post mini bits of it now and then, and a little happy face and namaste. Like that's why I think you're following me, is because, you know, I spin the staff too. And he goes, not really what I was talking about. He continues by saying, I've been taking my own sexual energy and aiming it towards healing emotional wounds. That's what I'm referring to by your work. Just so we're on the same page, and a little happy face. And in that moment, this is what I'm getting to, is the receiving love, right? When you share this, whatever it is that you share in the world, as it's making an impact on people, sometimes we don't even think it's making an impact. Sometimes I don't even think about that. Yet, when people come forward and they say, you know what, that book that you wrote fucking changed my life. It's helping my healing path. Or those posts that you're putting on, in this case, that he's been working with his sexual energy to heal emotional wounds, and somehow I'm a part of inspiring that. I got to take a moment before I responded and just like, oh yeah, it's just because I post stuff about the staff. I got to like go down into the heart and be like, you know what? And knowing that today's thing was all about raising the vibration, I was like, let me own this. This is the work that I do in the world. Let me say you're welcome. Let me, allude to that. So I had to receive the love. And I wrote back saying, wonderful way to work with that energy. Boom. I'm glad my posts can support your path of healing and sovereignty. And that was my way of honoring what I'm doing, of receiving his love. And then he wrote back and said, keep it up. It's soul food. And it's just like, peace, brother. That's just so cool. So receiving love raises our vibration as well. And I just got a string of 4 texts, which is interesting, which, okay. I don't need to read now. I just wanted to peek in because sometimes there's an interconnection with all that stuff. So we are going to finish up. Let me take one last look at the comments. Yes, okay. So the drum wants to be played for just a short period to take us out this morning. I'm so very grateful, and know that if you are not subscribed at my actual website, my link is right below in the show more box. It's my full name, which is the same as my Instagram tag, Tuesday, the day, May the month, and Thomas is my last name. Go to my website, and the very first page you'll have the opportunity to receive your free copy of my book, The Higher Self. And when you sign up, I don't send out loads of emails, just one a month, basically, and it's my love letter. And it's got some posts and some blogs and links about my books and just all sorts of juicy stuff. Check your social and your promos if you do sign up, though, because sometimes it goes into those boxes instead of your directly into your inbox. I do have a free book as well called the NOWOSPHERE. I'd be so grateful if you downloaded it. It's at iBooks and at Amazon, and leave me a little review. It's a mini book and it's free, and it truly helps to serve our path of spiritual growth and sovereignty as we open up into living in the NOWOSPHERE, into living now without fear, into living the now is here, which is the version of yourself that does not have all those shields and the pain of the past. And that can be truly challenging as we learn to walk without those shields. And so I pray that all of my teachings, everything I share here, really, really serves your path of spiritual growth and sovereignty. Because learning to raise our vibration, learning to live in the 4D can be challenging as we have, these issues to work out. But eventually, again, we become a perpetual motion vehicle. And the engine is your heart. The engine is love, right? The oil, the gas, the gasoline is love, and the engine is your heart. And the more that you get turned on through your heart center, the more you listen to and trust your intuition and allow it to guide your way and your path, the more your experiences in this world change. And in fact, what I believe and what I teach is that we move from living in the world, the 3D, the binary, to bridging heaven on earth. In the world, yet not of it, because we are existing from a place of the heart, from a place of perceiving love and only love through the perceptual lenses, right? And the lens of the third eye. Sadahi says, let's raise vibrations. Girl, get on Audible. It's so interesting you say that, because there's a book that comes after my Reiki Apprentice book that's all on, or no, I'm sorry, it's the book that comes before the Reiki Apprentice book, before I take off with my backpack to Greece and to Australia and all that stuff. And it's all audio. There's about 6 cassette tapes that I have called Treasure Enlightenment. And I am looking for a way to transpose those and to make that an Audible book. But also, I am looking into it in this next year to create podcasts of all of these shows, podcasts of all of my musings, so that there are different ways that you can receive my media. And again, I'm so grateful for your support. Thank you for all of your comments, for your thumbs up, for just all that good, juicy stuff, and all of these new subscribers. Every time I come onto YouTube, there's more and more subscribers, and I'm so grateful. I thank you, and I bless you all. So we're going to go out with a little drum song to raise our vibration. We're just going to allow the sound of the drum, and perhaps if a sound is guided to come through my voice. And if you want to chant at home too, or play your drum too, I welcome you to. So we'll take a moment to just allow, almost like a savasana in yoga class, where now we've done our class, and now we're going to take a few silent moments, a minute or so, to allow all of these teachings and all of these blessings to really be absorbed, to really become aligned through our minds, through our bodies, our emotions, and to begin to activate raising our vibration. Taking a nice deep breath in and a nice deep breath out. Imagine dropping into your body, into your physical body now, and shrinking yourself down and swimming in the sea of every cell of your body. Trillions and trillions of cells that make up your body, and the trillions and billions and gazillions of atoms that make up your body. From this deep space within yourself, feel you can and you are connected to your higher self, your wisdom self, the part of you that is divinely connected to source, to love, to light always. And as this version of yourself within your body, swimming, floating, being present with all of the body cells, all of the atoms in your body, from this space, feel that you are filled with love and light. See this version of yourself within your body filling up, glowing with love and with light. Imagine from this tiny version of yourself within your body, you are filling up, 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 up so deeply through every nook and cranny, through every cell, through every atom of that shrinking down, that tiny version of yourself, to the point where that love and light becomes overflowing. That love and light begins to expand through all of your pores of this version of yourself within your body. And that love and light extends itself out to every cell, to every atom, to every cell, to every atom, through it and to it, activating the membranes, the wisdom, all the parts of your body, of your mind that know how to heal yourself, that know how to raise your vibration, that know how to trust its intuition. Imagine your cells, your atoms shining brighter and brighter and brighter now. Imagine the space between your cells, between your atoms, shining with love, shining with light. Feel this energy pour through you, this small version of you within yourself, out, 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 through every organ, through every bone, through the blood, through the muscle, the tissue, the bone marrow, the teeth, the eyes, the hair, every single part of you, filled with love, filled with light, filled with love, filled with light. And now imagine that smaller version of yourself within yourself beginning to grow and expand, becoming larger and larger, embodying this energy body, this physical body, this mental body, emotional body, containing, radiating love and light, containing, radiating love and light, containing, radiating love and light, divinely connected to your higher self, divinely connected to source, to God, to love, what name you give it. You are that. I am that. We are that. We are raising our vibration. We are that. We are raising our vibration. We are that. We are consciously practicing shifting from lower, denser, polarized states and patterns of being into unity consciousness, where there is no separation, where there is love and only love. Where there is love and only love, we are that. I am that. You are that. Taking a breath in and a breath out, and two more. Deep inhale, feeling this love, this light activated, and a full exhale, and feeling that at once smaller version of yourself within yourself expanding, 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 filling up, up, up to your fullest size now as your human form, radiating love and light. And one more breath, deep inhale and a deep exhale. We thank our angels, our guides, our higher self, our animal totems, all of those divine light beings who love us, for always holding the way, for showing us, for shining the light, for guiding our path, for opening the door of love open to us, within us and through us. We thank you. We bless you, and so it is. And so it is. I'm so very grateful. I'm so very grateful. Thank you so much, everyone. Namaste. Thank you for sharing, liking, and just being here, and for all of your comments. I'm so very grateful. Namaste. Enjoy a beautiful day. If I can find my way out. Blessings.